This was something that happened over there at PragerU. You guys work very closely with them. AC Slater just caught flack. We've been talking about this for his comments regarding parents. I don't have his exact quote in front of me. He said it's dangerous for parents to allow 3-year-olds to become transgender, that they shouldn't be making those decisions at that point in their life. Something to that effect. The reaction, the backlash has been unbelievable. What do you think in watching this? Do you think that there's an out-of-touchedness?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible. So let me read you the actual quote, because I just got it up in front of me here. He says, "I'm trying to understand it myself, and please don't lump me into that whole group. I'm kind of blown away. Look, I'm never one to tell people how to parent their kids, obviously. I think if you come from a place of love, you really can't go wrong. But at the same time, my God, if you're 3 years old and you're saying you're feeling a certain way, or you think you're a boy or a girl or whatever the case may be, I just think it's dangerous as a parent to make this determination then, well, okay, you're going to be a boy or a girl, whatever the case may be. It's sort of alarming, and my gosh, I just think about the repercussions later on." And he added, "When you're a kid, you just don't know anything about sexuality yet. You're just a kid." Every single word that he says there is so eminently reasonable that if you stopped the person on the street and you said, "Should a 3-year-old choose their own gender?" everybody would be like, "No, what are you, crazy?" Mario Lopez says it, and everybody goes crazy, and it trends on Twitter. Twitter, I've decided, is the boo box from Hook. Remember in Hook, Dustin Hoffman
we have the boo box here.
Pirates, and then he'll say, exactly, he'll say to them, "Did you make a boo-boo? Did you make a boo-boo?" So, "Yeah, I made a boo-boo." And then you throw them in the boo box, and you put scorpions and snakes in there. Twitter is the boo box. So
by the way, do you know who was put in the boo box? Do you know who that was?
I can't remember this.
You won't know it. It was Glenn Close dressed as a male pirate. No, that's the boo box. No, it was Glenn Close. Go back and watch it.
It's very creepy.
Really?
Yeah, Glenn Close with a beard. Yeah, no joke.
Okay, I'm going to have to look that up because I don't trust you. So in any case.
I promise you, I watch, everyone now is going to go Google that. We were talking, because we did the Boovox sketch where people, obviously, Black Escobar puts people in the Boovox where they lock them in a treasure chest, but they just put in Vox videos. And we went back and did our research, and we're like, that's Glenn Close.
Oh my God, you're exactly right. That's exactly right. Wow. That is an amazing thing I learned today, Stephen Crowder.
You couldn't do that today.
I didn't believe.
That would be appropriating. That would be stealing a role from a transgender.
Believe all women.
Yes, okay.
If you'd been a woman, I would have believed you, because believe all women.
Yes,
but
true.
You're not. So my bad. So in any case, Mario Lopez says something that is obviously, look, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. If I leave my 3-year-old alone for more than an hour, he's dead. Okay, I mean, he will kill himself. He cannot decide what to wear. He cannot dress himself. He cannot decide what to eat, because he would eat only French fries and cardboard. He's a wonderful kid, and he's very smart for a 3-year-old, but he's 3.
Not so if he's eating cardboard. That's just 1 inch maybe shy of sticking the quarter in the light socket. Candy.
Yeah, no, he's definitely like the light socket he's into. He definitely is into sharp objects. So knives and fire, he's very into. Yeah. So he's a budding sociopath. I mean, like father, like son. But in any case, the fact that I would never leave him to his own devices to do anything because he's 3 and I'm not a moron. But apparently, according to the left, you're supposed to let a 3-year-old decide what their gender is, even though gender is a made-up word that the left has basically created in order to pretend that biology doesn't exist. Because the left does say, well, gender, it's completely separate from sex. But also, gender is more important than sex, so gender is sex. So there's a thing called a female penis. And if you don't understand this, it's because you don't understand biology. And you're like, whoa.
Right.
This
and
one.
By the way,
crazy.
Here's a 3-year-old stripping in drag. We just talked about this. It does lead, people don't understand this. They go, well, hold on a second. Why does this lead to the hypersexualization of children? You've seen this drag queen story time, all this stuff. And now you have the kid, we just showed some pictures, selling clothing from an erotic clothing line. Well, think about it. What are we really talking about when we're talking about gender? You are talking about a decision at that point that will affect your sex life, which of course you won't be able to engage in for another decade and a half, for the rest of your life. It is by its very nature a sexual decision and discussion. And then people seem surprised that these kids often get hypersexualized, and that's a real problem. It's not just a stretch, it is the inevitable when you start allowing this.
I mean, as a parent, my job is to protect the innocence of my children. That is my only job in life, is to protect the innocence of my children. And the left is firmly convinced that the best way for me to protect the innocence of my children is not to guide my children in any way. And this is idiotic. And there's this famous story about Rousseau, who, of course, wrote a book called Emile about how you should basically let your kids roam free in the forest, and then they'll learn from the forest creatures basically how to live. And some woman came up to Rousseau at one point during his life and said, I read Emile. It's a beautiful book, and I've been raising my child that way. And Rousseau said, are you crazy? What are you doing? It's a fiction book. And this is what the left has become. We're supposed to let 3-year-olds, these are the same people who will say that you cannot feed your child a GMO apple, right? If you serve your child a tomato that is non-organic, then you are a bad parent. But if you let your kid decide that he is a she, and and then you start considering hormone treatments and dressing the kid in female clothing, and you decide to do all of this, then obviously you're a good parent. So a good parent makes sure that what goes inside their kid's body is the most organic, but also that the kid gets to decide everything else about their body, including the stuff that is the most private and important decision-making they will ever make in their entire life about what they do with their body. I mean, it's completely insane. The fact that Mario Lopez was grilled over this, and the fact that he then backed down, the pressure by the left on these subjects is so great, and the pressure to silence is so intense that I cannot imagine there will not be a backlash. There has to be a backlash here, and I hope that it comes out in a reasonable way, obviously. I think the backlash should be just truth, but I fear that the left is pushing so hard that they're not going to like what they get on the other side of this.